Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special minisode. We have very few regular minisodes of Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch an anime, and then we come together to talk about it. But every other week, we do this thing called a minisode. This minisode, we're still talking about an anime, though, so stay tuned for that. If you listened to our episode last week, you know what's going on here. But let me introduce my co-host. First off, we have the tuxedo mask to my Sailor Moon, Jeremy.
Ooh, that's a little close, man. I'm doing great. I've actually been goofing off with some BattleTech and finally got him glued together. And my little Atlas is like, he's sticking a hand out there. He's saying, "Come on, bring it. Bring it. I will blow you up. I'm 100 tons." Other than that, I watched a really funny anime. It's really stupid, but it's really funny. It's called My Mental Choices Are Completely Interfering with My School Romantic Comedy. And when it comes to slice of life, it's no secret that I dislike them very much. But I don't know what's been going on lately between the anime that I picked for, and this. I'm kind of on a comedy slice of life binge, and it's going completely against my personality. And Tanya's asking me, "Why are you watching this?" And I say, "I don't know."
Yeah, I've been worried about you.
I don't know.
Like, watching all these ecchi and slice of life things.
I don't know.
Like,
it's like
you, man, I guess.
Yeah, just falling down the rabbit hole. Oof.
For my other host, we have the Moonlight Night to my Chibi Moon.
It's awesome.
Yeah, none of those words meant anything to me.
Moonlight Night would be the super lame version of Tuxedo Mask when he lost his memory and somehow became a different superhero. And everyone's like, "Isn't that just Tuxedo Mask?" He's like, "No, I'm totally a different guy." We all know who you are, Darian.
Spoiler alert, I don't know what Tuxedo Mask is either.
Oh.
But we can move on. That's fine.
Yeah.
Honestly,
sure
it's not that big a loss.
I don't know if it's weird or normal that I know so much about Sailor Moon. I don't know which one of us is the person to be proud.
Troy's gonna love this one. I've been playing Oxygen Not Included has an automation and the oil update. So that's been me trying to make my little space guys survive in a asteroid.
Okay, that was awesome. And my name is Troy. I finally got to watch the anime Godzilla movie on Netflix, and it was all right. One thing, let me say, Godzilla's always great, no matter what. Godzilla's just great. He's better when he fights a monster. Godzilla versus humans, less interesting to me. Always will be. And I mean, it's Godzilla who's evolved 200,000 or 20,000 years later, because Godzilla kicks humans off the planet. We run to space for like 20 years, and then we're like, we can't find another planet. Let's just go back. And we get back to Earth, and 20,000 years have passed because, time disparity and space travel. And they're like, "Hey, I'm sure Godzilla's left by now." And Godzilla's like, "No, I'm still here." We're like, "Okay, well, let's just kill him this time." I'm still going to watch the next one. I'm still interested to watch the next one. I want to see how they build off of this, but there wasn't enough in this movie to make me recommend it.
I wondered why you made the connection between it and Knights of Sidonia when you were talking to
Same
animator.
animator.
That kind of makes more sense. Oh,
it's
really?
the animation.
Is it? It's the same style where it's like
Yeah, and everything has scratches on it.
Okay, gotcha.
Same people who did what's the one we watched on here with the ghost behind you? Ajin.
Ajin, yeah.
So,
I was going to say Kaijo, but that's very different.
Factoid here. Godzilla versus Smog Monster. Best Godzilla ever.
That's a good one.
Yeah, gotta check it out.
What about when Godzilla fought the Matthew Broderick Godzilla that Japan bought the rights for just to give him a 5-second shot in the movie where Godzilla one punches him?
Actually, that was pretty great.
I did not see
might
that.
be the
That's
greatest
awesome.
Godzilla moment ever.
I think
Awesome.
his even better than that is him riding on his tail with his feet up and he's just flying across the ground with his parallel to the ground.
Yeah, okay. Godzilla's great.
Flying ninja
It just
kill.
is. We need to get to our mini subtopic, which, if you, like I said, if you listen to our last week's episode, we gave a non-spoiler review for Rebellion, the sequel movie of Puella Magi Madoka Magica. And so we're going to talk about that whole movie now, spoilery. Let's quickly do a recap of our non-spoiler reviews. I said that I really liked it. There was some muddling at the end I saw, but I really liked it.
It left a really bad taste in my mouth. It was, God, it touched on so many really great topics, and it pulled me in for probably 3/4 of the movie, and then it just crapped its pants. So that's kind of why it left it. Like this movie didn't need to exist with the series.
I liked where it took the characters. I liked how it let them have opportunities to shine that they didn't have before. And I did have a little bit of a problem with how some of the characters were portrayed differently than the sense that I got out of them during the series. As in, like, I don't necessarily see how their story did extrapolate the way it did. And I don't like the ending, but only because I don't fully understand what happened at the ending. But overall, I actually did enjoy the movie.
Okay. And now we're going to drop a big spoiler warning if you haven't seen the movie. And also, there's not going to be plot review. So if you haven't seen the movie, we're just going to ramble for like 20, 30 minutes. So here we go. Guys, spoiler warning. I just want to say the funniest thing I've seen on the internet since I watched this movie is the devil is a lesbian and God is his girlfriend.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know why that tickles me so much. Probably going to hell for it, but whatever.
It's kind of funny.
Okay. Let's start with the movie. What did you guys think?
Well, let's kind of start from some of the. I love
Cake
the
dancing.
I love the parallel. That was a weird scene.
God, that was weird.
I did love the parallel that it drew in the very beginning. Like, it was nearly a beat for beat with the first episode. But then here comes Homura in not her I'm a badass style, but with the braids and glasses. But, Kyoko is there, Mommy's there, Sayaka's there. Like, everyone's there. They're all magical girls. And it just seems off. Like, just something seems off. It's like, why is Madoka there? Why is Sayaka there? I thought Kyoko doesn't show up till later. Like, is this a direct... But, like, I was wondering, did I accidentally start the first one of the retell?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great introduction. What I didn't like was the 45-minute seemingly transformation of each girl.
I love that.
That was so unnecessary.
Because we never truly got that, and it was a nice little note to the fans of like, here's their real transformations.
Yeah, the reason that I loved it, and again, I think it comes from Troy and I's background of Sailor Moon was all there was, man. And
every episode, 5-minute transformation.
And so, like, when you think, if you have a history of seeing a magical girl cartoon, you are expecting that, and we never got it in Madoka Magica. We got these blips. And so seeing them do it here was a way for them to reset our expectations and say, yeah, get comfortable again. This is what you expect. Even though we have a bad history with you, no, we're not going to do that to you again. Here, this is the magical girl transformation. Be comfortable. So for me, that's what that was. And it was also a really nice display of who these characters were. Like, I was watching Kyoko do her dance. Like, each of them had a different thing they did when they transformed.
Especially
it's really good.
If you didn't watch the whole series and for some reason stumbled into this movie, which is not going to make sense. So maybe this is mute, but it does give you, hey, here's a quick character synopsis just through their transformation. Here's the fiery one. Here's the playful one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting. Sayaka seemed out of place. I never saw her as the breakdancing type. But everybody else seemed right.
At worst, it's a fan servicey moment, and since I'm a fan, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand how long it was. The transformations were okay. I just think they could have been cut down to like 10-second transformations per girl.
All right, Scroobian method, guys. All the clues about who the responsible party for this horrible world is. They're so good. The background is so telling. The fact that Madoka there's Madoka art in the background. Hamura's symbol is on every blimp that goes in the sky. It's so good.
Yeah, yep. I didn't catch any of them until like her confrontation with Sayaka. That I was like, wait, hold on.
It's you.
But at first I was like, oh. So that's right. Sayaka's supposed to be a witch. Wait, but she's not responsible. It's you. Okay, but backing up a little bit, I have to say, having Charlotte, the witch that murdered Mommy, Mommy's pet, was a fantastic choice. Fantastic choice. Because here's Homura, basically the only person there that understands what this dangerous creature is, trying to play nice, knowing that she saw this thing murder her friend. And that was a great touch. But also, like throughout this whole beginning.
Wait, let us comment on that.
Okay.
Well, what I wanted to say was, not only when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is twisted that they would do that, but it leads to one of the best anime fights I've seen in so long. How many people are going to say, what's one of the best anime gun battles you've ever seen? Well, there's this Magical Girl movie. That gunfight is astounding.
That will be the one that I name from now on. Yeah. Because that was not just fantastic choreography, but just outright beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful battle, and I loved the basically her trying to use her time sync power, but Mommy going, nope. I'm coming with you.
I got you. Yep. Yeah, there was also I don't know, did you guys catch this when they were doing the stupid cake song? And I mean, stupid because you get the sense that like this fits perfectly in a witch's world where like everything is going to be crazy. And so when they have the cake, they're going to do a crazy song around it because that makes sense in a cycle world. But what was Mommy? Mommy was cheese. And what did Charlotte say all the rest of the episode? I love to eat cheese. And I was like, oh God, don't put that thing next to your head. Don't do that. It's like always on her shoulder, right next to her head. It's not, I was so tense the first time I watched this. I was like, it's going to bite her head off. It's going to bite her head off. It's going to do it. Yeah, so good.
But also throughout the entire first act, Kyubey doesn't say a word.
Never talks.
That was really, really disconcerting for me.
And then as soon as Hamura starts investigating, they flash to his face for a second, and I knew it was coming. She's questioning Mommy, like, hey, do you remember when you met Bebe? And I'm like, oh no, Kyubey's there. And then it flashes to his face for a second, and he's paying attention. I'm like, oh, Kyubey, you monster.
Yep.
No, the whole idea that they were trapped in the city was fantastic.
Yep.
Because the only things we know that are self-contained, like pocket dimensions in this world, are labyrinths. So this is a perfect recreation of their city, but inside a labyrinth. I was like,
and the more Hamura investigates, the more it breaks down into a normal labyrinth. Faces start shifting and backgrounds start shifting. Cotton people start dancing past, and no one cares and notices.
I mean, there was one point where I was a little bit confused because she was riding back and she looked up and she saw Kyoko, but Kyoko was just a drawing like you'd expect in a witch's labyrinth. And then she saw a drawing of Mommy, and Mommy's like peeking out, and she's like you would expect in a witch's labyrinth. And then she saw Sayaka, and I'm like, wait, are they even there? Or are they fake too? And is that why? So it was really good because it actually made me question the reality of even the main characters, the magic girls, which turns out, yes, they were real, but that was really well done. And I wonder if that's because Homura was saying, they contrast to some degree with what I expect, like my memories of who these people are and who they actually turned out to be in the timeline that they lived through are different. And so I have a drawing to represent them as I expect them to be, but it doesn't match up to them perfectly.
Right. And also it was interesting that she went to Kyoko first with this because of her suspicions that she's probably not going to remember any of this, because in her real timeline where she is alive, witches don't exist, labyrinths don't exist. So like this is all foreign to her. So for that, when they get on the bus and they try to leave town, it is so jarring for Kyoko that she's like, I don't know what's going on. And she immediately goes to transform because she's like, I'm in danger, and Homura stops her. It was like, okay, as long as you play along, I think you're going to be safe. And that was the first moment where I was just like, yeah, things are going to get bad fast.
Yeah. And I liked how, like, Homura's had a lot of experience with how mommy doesn't take difficult, stressful changes in her situation very well. From the series, we have examples of that. And it explains why she didn't go to mommy, because mommy and Kyoko are actually exactly the same here, except also that mommy also has Bebe, that Charlotte witch on her shoulder. Like both of those reasons, mommy wouldn't handle it well, and she could be a problem because of the witch on her shoulder.
So let's get into your guys' problems. Do we have problems with the final battle? The big battle, witches versus witches? So
the reason I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a play-by-play, not too long, is I wanted to point out the parts I really, really enjoyed. And for the most part, I enjoyed a ton of this movie because it brought up really cool ideas with this world. Like the whole idea that, all right, let's spoil it now. Homura's not only a witch, but this is her creation, and she has invited these people in. The problem is that Madoka shouldn't exist to be invited, but we find out that she's there to save her.
Right.
So I think where it started to fall apart a bit for me was Homura's fanaticism and her realizing she was a witch was really cool arc, that.
And watching her kill Kyubey like 100 times.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Yes. Yeah, that was pretty great. And using her labyrinth minions to do it as well, like chase him down and kill him. And also to find out this was an experiment by Kyubey,
because she told Kyubey at the end of the anime.
The end of the anime, yes. I also thought it was really cool how her witch, like the top of her head, just kind of slid off the back. Yeah, and I was watching that and I was like, why did it do that? And then it snapped over and showed you her body sitting next to Kyoko across the table, and her head actually slid off the top of her head. And I don't understand why that happened. Like, surely Kyoko didn't cut her head in half. Because Kyoko looked shocked. So was it just?
I think it's just
all imagery.
Witch transformation. Yeah.
I think they battle her, and actually, so Sayaka using her witch form to battle.
Thank you. That's so cool.
So cool.
Was so cool.
And I like the reason Sayaka's there because I was like, yeah, you can explain most of this. Sayaka shouldn't be there, and then her being like, yeah, basically my personality got preserved by Madoka's law to help Madoka's law enact across the universe.
Which is where Bebe comes in too. Charlotte was grabbed as well.
Right.
And so basically there's a scene where they basically defeated her, calmed her down. She's laying on this sacrificial table, if you will. And this cool heavenly passage opens up, and here comes Madoka in all her divine glory. And she's coming down to take Homura like she would, like she would any other witch. If she had just gone with Madoka and rolled credits, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
I think reasoning of how the story was going with Homura's witch transformation and that whole battle scene, it was really cool to watch. It just didn't jive well storytelling wise, I think. And then all of a sudden, instead of just going with her, she grabs her and decides, I'm not only gonna split you from your divinity, but I'm gonna keep you for myself in this labyrinth. And that was just a bad move on the writer's part.
Well, I got the impression that she was no longer in the labyrinth at that point. Like she had busted out.
She rewrites the universe again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. And it's like, well, where did she get that power to do that?
You remember how I was talking at the end of the last episode about how Homura would have actually been the guiding hand to try and manipulate Madoka? So all of the anchors being on Madoka, I could see there being some level of equivalency of the anchors being attached to Homura, because she's just as pivotal, because she's influencing Madoka and actually jumping between. She's the only other person that's like jumped between timelines and mattered every time.
Right, but she's not as powerful as Madoka, correct?
I don't think she is, no.
Okay,
So how did she split her from the divinity? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
she does still have her witch's power at that point.
And?
It still shouldn't be enough to beat Madoka. But we know that she's not just a witch. We know that she is something more than a witch. Because remember, they're like,
I remember the explanation of what she is. Why is her witch more powerful than all witches? I didn't take notes because I didn't think we were doing this.
I don't even want to say it because it doesn't fit. And it's love. That's what she says at the end. This isn't.
Yeah, and that was another one.
It's not the switch of emotions between hope and despair turning her into a witch. It's now something about love. But what I'm seeing is this isn't love. This is obsession. This is a selfish desire to obtain and possess.
Yes.
It's not.
You're hitting it perfectly, but it's actually what I liked about this is that
right. I like that too.
Because in the last ending, Madoka has the most selfless love of all. She becomes a Christ figure, gives herself up for everybody. Mm-hmm. Now we have the opposite side of that coin. We have Homura in the most selfish love to the point where it's almost hate and it's dark and it's ugly. And it's like, yeah, love can save the universe, but it can also doom it. And I like the theme that they're going for in this story. I do admit it's a little sloppy because I can't even remember why is she such a powerful thing. So I agree that it's sloppy, but I love the theme play with Homura being the opposite of Madoka but still being love, just love turned bad. That's a cool thing to explore, I thought.
I think it was executed poorly because Homura's motivations throughout not only the entire anime and the movie is protect Madoka and save her from this terrible fate of her turning into a witch and destroying the world.
But what was the wish for, Madoka or Homura?
Right, we learned with Sayaka about that. Yeah.
Well, I get at the time, I imagine it wasn't necessary. I mean, I guess it could have been for her as well.
I think that's what this is revealing, that her wish is very similar to Sayaka's, where, yeah, it seemed like she just wanted to protect Madoka, but she wanted to protect Madoka so that she could have Madoka.
Right. So if in the last episode, I was also talking about how I think that this whole magical girl thing, I think it emphasizes and exaggerates emotion. And so if we look at the situation and we break it down, we have Homura meets Madoka in the first timeline, and Madoka lets her use her first name, which this is a big thing. It's like basically saying, hey, I want to be the best friend that you've ever had with you. And I don't even know you. Look how pure of heart and wonderful I am.
Right. Isn't this great? Japan, that's unheard of. Like, let's just be first name basis.
Right.
That's not a thing.
And so that's the impression that Homura has. And then also like being rescued by Madoka, seeing her die and everything. But it's only like she says, I've been reliving this month over and over again. So it's a month of knowing this other girl, this schoolmate. So the emotion that she's connected to this schoolmate has got to be, I mean, logically, sensibly, it seems like it would be one of admiration, appreciation because they saved you, because they've extended this warm hand of friendship. And we don't know what Homura's history was, but maybe that's unusual for her. So maybe she really latched on, didn't want to lose her best friend, her new best friend, who was also cool and seemed to be popular in school, right? And so if all that's accurate, that was the situation when she was willing to go back in time, become a magical girl, go back in time and save Madoka, right? But from that point, failing over and over again, she became more like Kyubey, where she had to set emotion aside because she didn't just want to protect Madoka. When she went back in time the first time, right, we mentioned she was trying to save other people too. She gradually had to cut every other direction and become more cold to the point where we actually see the person we recognize in the series like Kyubey. She's cold and calculating, only telling what she needs to tell, reserving other information. And that is a really bad sign because now you're going to be a controlling person in your relationship and a very manipulative one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I agree with you there where I saw her, it may have started out being sincere, but it gradually, even in the series, became this sort of manipulative, controlling, always trying to outsmart Madoka and not tell her because telling her just didn't work previously. And that kind of guided the development of Homura's personality to where she became this really obsessive, selfish person. And I like what they did with it, but I don't like how confusing the term is, and it leaves you wondering what's going on. Because, like you say, that statement, right? The devil's a lesbian and God is her girlfriend. That's not what they were trying to say.
No, it wasn't.
Not it.
No, that is definitely the shippers fan fiction.
Yeah. But it's confusing enough that I can understand why people might think that.
And I actually really appreciated that explanation because it does give a bit of more understanding to the finality of it.
Mm.
But I still stand by my sentiment. The series was a complete package. It did not need a sequel. After watching this needs a sequel. I mean,
yeah.
At the very end, Madoka is like, I don't belong here. I belong somewhere else. And she starts to change back into her divinity. And Homura pulls her out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That friendship's not going to last.
Well, and Homura says that at the end, they're going to have to kill each other. Like,
yep.
You're God, you're God, I'm the devil. This has to end in a battle, but I'm going to take what I can get for now.
And is that going to end the world? I mean,
depends on who wins, I guess.
Yeah.
I have there's one other scene that happens near the end that I think if there is going to be a sequel, and I do feel like this isn't a good complete package. I agree with what you're saying. Where Kyubey, who is tattered and torn, just beaten to hell, who's nothing more than a plaything now for Homura, is just laying there and he's looking at the camera. And I thought for a second,
shaken.
If mental illness is emotion to them, what if this Kyubey snaps and he has emotions, and we get a witch version of Kyubey? And what would that bring into the play? That would be my pitch for the sequel. Because I don't just want to see Madoka and Homura kill each other and then have a new resolution. A third element of Kyubey, and he looks pretty dang miserable at the end of the movie, which I enjoyed seeing.
I love
Terror.
that idea because it would give us a chance to explore Kyubey, his race, his motivations, and why he's so powerful but is unable to take action. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, he's obviously, like, their power comes from him transforming them. And he is the source of all of this. So what kind of power level does he have?
Well, I kind of think of it as a nuclear reaction, right? The elements themselves don't produce that much energy until you put them together the right way. And so I wonder if his power is sort of like being the catalyst, but on its own, it's inert.
I wonder if he's extremely powerful and he's just under instructions from his race not to interfere, no matter what happens to him, why he's so willing to die so many times.
If it's not in their thing to interfere, like it just doesn't even compute to them.
This is the future of the Federation.
But in story-wise, it would give a common enemy for Madoka and Homura, which I think then you could explore their relationship without it just being killing each other.
I think the reason that I completely agree that it needs a sequel is because I don't understand the ramifications of Homura being the devil. I don't know what it did to the world. All I see is weird, like, witches' labyrinth stuff spilling over all over the place, and like physics is unreliable and people's minds are getting wiped. But I don't know what that means in the long term or in the short term. I don't know how it changed anything.
I had a thought, and we need to get going here soon, but I had a thought when I was watching that thing that, you know, when we saw Madoka Magic, we saw it was the future, right? There's technology we've never seen and stuff, but what if all that's happened has just led into our timeline? They're now us. This is how we got our god and devil, you know, or something. And maybe that's what the story is trying to tell us,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Well, the last thing I'd like to say is it's interesting that, you know, shoot, what was I going to say? Dang it. Never mind.
Well, let's get the final review, and then maybe it'll come back to you. Jeremy, what's your final review for this?
My final review is it's still, I mean, it's good. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The action scenes were fantastic. Getting to see Mommy actually stick around and do some awesome stuff was great. The fear of Bebe Charlotte on her shoulder at all times was terrifying. Seeing how everything fell apart. And I thought they did a fantastic job of like starting again with the illusion of the typical trope-filled magical girl movie and peeling the onions back. They did it again, and they did a good job of it. Which is actually another reason I don't know if they did a sequel, they would have to do that again. And I don't know if they can. It does have some problems. One of the problems I didn't mention was when it came to relationships, I never got the impression during the series that Sayaka and Kyoko had any kind of...
that was a fan service. Hey, you shippers, you want to see something cool?
Yeah. It felt cheap. It felt out of place, like just inserted for no reason.
It didn't feel romantic.
Right.
To me. I mean, it definitely felt like, hey...
So
I think it felt more regretful. Like, Sayaka's like, I am so sorry I forced you to kill me.
The only thing is the line "way to ruin the moment," which implies romantic. But this anime knows it has a ton of shippers. There are a ton of people who ship these girls, as you can imagine. With anime, this kind of stuff happens, and it's always left platonic but plausible. And I think they do that on purpose so that the shippers have something to have fun with. And I do think that's a little bit of a fan service. High five for you people who like to draw that fan art.
Yeah. Because it was the two lines of my only regret is that I left you behind, and then someone shows up and way to ruin the moment. And I'm like, I know what that moment is. This is not what those characters were like.
Especially in the anime where one character runs away screaming, "Girls can't like girls!"
Right, exactly.
And everyone's like, So it didn't feel earned at all yet, but I saw it as it was a 1 second, 2 second line, and it was just whatever.
To me, it was just a symptom of like maybe changing what you're producing as a reaction to what you think the audience wants instead of being true to your original vision. That's all. But still 4 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would like to have an explanation and some more expounding on what happened.
Jason, how about you?
I kind of remembered what I wanted to say, and it'll tie into my. I give it a 3, and the reason I do is because I actually really enjoyed the fight scenes. I enjoyed the art again. It was fun to see the girls again. The problem is that I feel this storyline tried to do too much. The problem is with having a reveal at the end is great if it helps towards the resolution of the story. A twist is terrible to do at the very end because you don't have time to explore it, you don't have time to explain it, you don't have time to let the ramifications of it play out. And Homura attacking Madoka at the end was a twist. It was not a reveal. And to have the twist of this is Homura's labyrinth and, oh, by the way, my love has turned into obsession, it would have been better if it was a 4-hour movie or at least another hour long to kind of let that play out. I probably would have given it a much higher score. But I won't say that I hated watching it. I mean, I did enjoy myself. I just that ending just left a bad taste in my mouth, and I think I would change my tune if they came out with a sequel for it.
So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I still think I was right the first time I watched Madoka Magica, and not watching this movie because they're perfect ending. I'm good. I'm walking away from it, and this ending is a little bit muddled, a little bit muddy. But I want to say I was actually impressed that they were able to find new themes in the same story with that dark love, with the dark side of love, when we got to see the selfless side of love in the anime. I was impressed by that. They did not end this as well as they ended the anime, though, and now I've seen it. I have to carry that with me forever. Best anime fight scene I've seen in a long time. Maybe one of the best. Definitely one of the best gun battles. I loved the visual cues throughout this thing as the world starts falling apart, turning back into a labyrinth. The clues that this is Hamuro's world with her symbol showing up in. Why are there 100 blimps in the sky? I remember saying that out loud. Why are there 100 blimps in the sky?
I asked the same question.
And then I looked and I'm like, that's Hamuro's symbol on them. Oh no. But I thought that was really cool that that kind of detail was in the background. They're still doing a great job. It just, you couldn't do what you did before as well as you did it before. So 4 out of 5 for me.
I think one of the really neat things about this is they were able to play with rules or at least assumptions of stuff that were set up in the original anime, like Sayaka coming back. Being able to explore all those ideas was really neat. And I really, really do hope for a sequel.
You can share your thoughts with us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. We are currently watching what anime, Jeremy?
The comic artist and his assistants. Yes, that's it. The comic artist and his assistants.
And 12 episodes?
Yeah, I think it is 12. The last one I watched was 10, so yes, had to double check.
Okay, 12 episodes. So we hope you were enjoying that. We are enjoying that too. And we will talk to you guys later. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Is Jason the cake?
Yes, he's the cake. Sayonara.